There may be horrors coming to visit us from outer space or other dimensions, but most likely one will fall victim to the horrors of men. In this second installment of The Hotel from the Rising Sun, we explore a story told by a vampire who solved a problem in an unusual way. Sometimes, one often only needs to look to a slightly different problem someone else has solved to find an application for one's own problem. As Rod Serling might have said, for your consideration, Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind.
I'm an elf and not a vampire, who saw the need for a hotel in New Orleans which caters exclusively to vampires. Since my guests have lived over several lifetimes and managed to have become involved in unusual situations due to their lifestyles, I have gathered quite a bit of information and stories that I would like to share. One of those stories I call Close Encounters of the Fourth Kind. One of my guests is a fixer for sports figures and celebrities. A fixer in this case is someone focused on cleaning up messes. It is sometimes said that professional basketball players statistically are involved in less crime and problems than the rest of those in their demographic. But this may be false because one needs to realize the reporting of these problems and crimes may be underreported in these athlete and celebrity groups. This is largely due to the fact that the professional athletes and celebrities management has access to fixers who create situations to avoid problems and make problems go away when they do appear. Many of these athletes are creatures of the ghetto who happen to have a talent and become stars. They still get in fights, sexually assault women and do stupid things. But they are worth and represent a lot of money. For a small fraction of the cost of what the consequences otherwise would be, fixers are employed to create more positive outcomes for the athlete and management. One major problem with the sports figures is that they are constantly targeted by gold digger bimbos. These bimbos are beaten up by the sports figures, try to get money from them and/or go to the press or courts. In this particular case, one of these problematic figures known as the Champ had been dating one of these gold digger bimbos. He had slapped her around. Then she had to be calmed by being reminded a good life is generally available to her and not to mess it up. She was told they would try to improve the Champ. When the fixer mentioned to a friend this situation might generate a continuing problem, this triggered an idea in the friend. He had an idea to discredit her, but it would require an explanation. He knew this guy. They actually both knew the same guy. It was George who ran the Erotic Cemeteries of New Orleans tour company. The company provides tourists with tours of infamous people's graves, describes their sexual lives and then claims to recreate the sexual events. In addition to this rather bizarre tourist market, the friend also knew that George had another niche market operation which was more secret. There are the three types of regularly known alleged alien abductions. There are those who suffer from nightmares, those who suffer from schizophrenia and those who cook up a story for publicity. Then there's a fourth category of alleged alien abductees mixed in with the others. This is the one in which we are interested. This category is those who have been taken by humans pretending to be space aliens who kidnap and have sex with them. The women of the fourth kind don't think they have been raped, but subjects of alien research and maybe even hybrid experimentation. Consider the results. What are the women's options? Go to the police and tell them they were kidnapped and abused by space aliens? If they were aliens, were they crimes the police could prosecute? More likely the authorities would see the alleged victims as delusional or seeking publicity? So this gold digger would be discredited as some type of nut. The vampire's friend said he had leased his warehouse to George. He said George was so suspiciously secretive that he figured they were making drugs or chopping up stolen cars for parts. Oh no, they had built this spacecraft interior inside the warehouse and there were gray alien bodysuits. They said they were making a movie, but they weren't. When George found out he knew, he just asked nonchalantly how much it cost, how many can participate and was there a group rate. So they weren't worried about him knowing. Apparently, George said he came to the alien abduction idea when his dentist had him on narcotics while he was working on him in his chair. He lost 2 teeth, but gained an epiphany. The arrangements were made and on the appointed night, the Champ's girlfriend was sedated, taken to the warehouse and given the treatment. Then sedated again and returned to her room. The next morning, she was full of revelations about how she was an experiencer and the aliens might be trying to create alien hybrids. The fixer said the whole thing went extremely well. He even arranged for a ghostwriter to help her write a book about the experience. She also now does UAP conventions and cable shows recounting her experience. She went from a gold digger to someone who seems to have some meaning in life and a celebrity career of her own. It all worked out well in the end. She just needed a new vocation. Meanwhile, the fixer has moved on to other projects. Maybe we will go into some of his other adventures later. We project onto supposed aliens what we see ourselves doing to other species, running experiments on them and using them to create medicines and tissues for us. But we also need to consider what some humans do to other humans. It is likely creatures from outer space aren't the threat, but the locals are.